Why did you choose to focus on diabetes and inflammation?
These are the two things that affect every single cell in the body.
While being science-backed, you also have this whole respect and acknowledgement of traditional Indian ways.
There's इतना wisdom in India. आज के दिन भी आपके घर पे जो pickle है, that recipe is a minimum of 5,000 years old.
I want to focus a little bit more on active seniors.
You've done whatever you could for your body and now you're at that age where अभी आपकी body बोल रही है अब मुझे attention चाहिए. An average Indian home buys 500 grams of a sabji for a family of 4. So you're eating around 100 grams of cooked vegetable in the day. The basic requirement is half a kilo of vegetables in the day.
Is there also an element that इस age में आने के बाद things like inflammation are more prevalent?
There is a very clear connection between age and inflammation, but the deciding factor is
Hi everyone, welcome to the Meru Life Podcast. As you know, we started this company Meru Life with an idea that we want to help active seniors live an active, connected and purposeful second innings. Who are active seniors? So we are calling people between the ages of 55 and 70 who still have a lot of aspirations, a lot of desires, a lot of wants, needs. We are calling them active seniors. And we think that there is an opportunity for an organization like Meru Life to come up with a host of solutions, products, services that we think can benefit this audience. One of the things that we want to do as part of Meru Life is to run this podcast, which is the Meru Life Podcast. And here what we'll do is we'll talk about topics which are very, very relevant for this active senior audience. You know, this could include health, nutrition, financial issues, how to live a life of purpose, so many different topics that are relevant for active seniors. So I'm very, very excited to be doing this podcast, and I'm all the more excited because we have a very special guest today who's a subject matter expert in the field of nutrition. So we have Khushboo Jain Tibrewala with us today, and she's someone who I've seen do so much fantastic work in the nutrition space, especially around inflammation, around diabetes, around chronic diseases and their management using nutrition. I think it's just phenomenal. And the most important thing is, you know, she does this in a very science-backed way. At the same time, it's something which is very practical for every Indian person to follow. So that's something which is really brilliant. And the results speak for themselves. So, you know, she's helped thousands of people in the past. And the stats they're staggering, you know. We see 3/4 of the people that she's worked with, they've been able to overcome their cholesterol issues. 80+% of the people she's worked with, they've been able to overcome things like IBS and GERD and so on and so forth. So really fantastic results. And, you know, that's why we thought the perfect person to get on the Meru Life podcast would be Khushboo. So Khushboo, welcome. Thank you for joining.
Hi Mihir, it's so good to be here. It's great.
Absolutely our pleasure, Khushboo. And, you know, one of the things that I wanted to, talk about with you is I've seen you do so much great work in this space. You know, this is something that you've changed so many lives. I really want to understand, how did this all begin? How did this all get started for you?
So it started when I was, I think, 8 or 9 years old. My dadi was diagnosed with diabetes. And we are this proper North Indian khata pita khandan. So for her to be diabetic and then to be told you can't eat laddu, you can't eat your chole bhature is just like unacceptable in my family.
Right.
So I saw her struggle. I saw her on her good days, on her bad days. When she's given up and eaten a laddu, her sugar level spiked immediately the next day. I saw the first-hand influence of food, the power of nutrition. I saw that firsthand through her journey. I saw that there were days when, you know, her sugar levels were well behaved. They were excellent, and simply because she was able to do what was told to her. And I kind of became her nutritionist, and she used to keep saying this, Khushboo to dietitian bani. She used to keep saying it. And somewhere I think it just sat in my mind, and here I am.
That's awesome. So right from like that age, you knew what you wanted to do when you grew up.
I think nutrition is so powerful, and when I was a kid, it wasn't really something that we spoke about. We were only following doctors blindly, right? But I saw that nutrition could do that. I saw it in so many different things. So I feel like her entire journey kind of just showed me a very different approach to health, and I think that was the inspiration.
That's amazing. And what I feel is also amazing is, from that young age to know and then follow it through is really amazing. Like, I wanted to be an astronaut when I grew up. Clearly that didn't happen. So kudos to that. So, what we'll do is there's a few things I want to talk about during the course of this podcast. I definitely want to get your opinions on several things that we hear about, which active seniors must be hearing about, and they must be thinking what's the right thing to do, wrong thing to do, and so on. We'll also spend time doing a little bit of myth busting, because there's a lot of myths in this space. There's also this whole concept that what exactly does it mean to be fit as an active senior. So I want to talk about that as well. And then right at the end, if we could also talk about, as a active senior, what are some of the things, let's say 5 things they have to have in their pantry. So we've tried to, structure the conversation in that fashion. So maybe with that, I'll kind of proceed. I think very importantly, what I want to kind of start off knowing is, why did you choose to focus on diabetes and inflammation? Why are these the specialities that you chose to go behind?
There are several factors. The biggest being that these are the 2 things that affect every single cell in the body, because they affect the body, they affect the blood. So, and blood is going to every single cell. They are ticking time bombs. So that becomes a very big issue, and we know and we've seen it several times in the past that people who have diabetes or inflammation versus people who don't, the way they respond to random situations, whether it is trauma in your personal life or whether it is acquiring something like COVID. We've seen multiple times that if your diabetes and inflammation are under control, you are likely to just live a healthier life. And the second more important thing is that there is a genetic predisposition. And Indians are genetically predisposed to diabetes especially. So when I was a nutrition student, I was told that type 2 diabetes is typically something that happens to someone after 40. But you'll be shocked. Today, the average age of a diabetic who's coming to my clinic must be about 31, 32. Oh, wow. The youngest being 17 years old. Oh, wow. And that's not type 1, that's not juvenile diabetes, it's type 2 diabetes. So when you see that something is progressing like this, we are the diabetes capital of the world, obesity is just increasing at a tremendous pace. I feel like every single Indian needs to make these 2 their priority.
Right. So it's almost like, that saying is har marz ki ek dawa. So it's like the reverse of that. Like har marz ka ek hi ya do hi roots hain, inflammation.
Correct.
And
everything boils down to these 2.
Right. Okay. That's very interesting. And while these are, some things that we need to tackle, I've seen that you also, while being science-backed, you also have this whole, like a respect and acknowledgement of the value of traditional Indian ways of, doing food and nutrition and all that. Can you talk a little bit to that topic?
So it's simple, right? हर दूसरे महीने में there's some new superfood.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Right? So there is
moringa.
Moringa.
What is moringa?
Drumstick.
Drumstick. अच्छा.
Now हर Indian को पता है drumstick
moringa
healthy है.
Sounds so cool.
Correct. But हम तो बचपन से we've been told drumstick खाओ, सांभर खा रहे हो drumstick खाओ. So the thing is, we know so many things. There's इतना wisdom in India. And हम जितना modern science जो research कर रहा है, we are seeing that, for example, germination, sprouting. We were obviously, for decades, we've known that it's healthy. If you read the old Indian scriptures, you will see that sprouting तो like it's a part of what we do. और fermenting, यानी हमारी इतने अलग अलग टाइप की fermenting की recipes हैं. Our pickles are 5,000 साल पुराना. The recipe, आज के दिन भी आप जो आपके घर पे जो pickle है, that recipe is a minimum of 5,000 years old. So the thing is, इतनी wisdom है in how to make the food more bioavailable, उसको anti-nutrients कैसे reduce करो. So we have that information, and while the technical reason was not passed down generations, but अगर हम blindly भी कुछ चीज़ें follow करें, there is science. We may not know it completely yet. We might have lost it, पर science है उसमें, बहुत logical है हमारी traditional recipes. And मैं जितना और पढ़ रही हूँ, I'm just completely fascinated by what the Indian food heritage has to offer.
Right. So basically my granny was right.
Yeah. All our dadis were like epic.
So you spoke about a few of these things which are probably applicable to the population at large. I now want to kind of deep dive into this active senior segment because, one of the things that we are seeing, as we are building this company is that, active seniors, the aspiration is to live a very, very full life. And at the very kind of base of that is making sure that you're physically, mentally, emotionally healthy, right? And of course, probably the lion's share of that will happen through good nutrition, right? So I want to focus now a little bit more on active seniors, right? And what I wanted to ask you was that, like at a certain age, taking care of your health or, looking after your nutrition specifically, let's say, is like a priority. But once you hit this sort of age group, 55 and 60, it goes from being a priority to becoming like the mandate, right? So, and we hear a lot of things that change at this time, metabolism becoming lower. I've heard terms like cognitive decline, all of this sort of thing. So if you can just help us unpack this a little bit, like why is nutrition all the more critical once you hit this kind of age group? Yeah.
So the first thing you have to understand is what is happening, what is aging, right? So we've all school में हमने सबने पढ़ा है cell में mitochondria होता है. Mitochondria is the powerhouse of the cell.
Right. Oh, I knew that.
So everyone knows that, right? जो mitochondria है, that is where energy is produced. Right. So the reason why a little child has this energy कि वो दिन भर भाग रहा है, दौड़ रहा है और कुछ नहीं हो रहा है, and you're like सो जा बेटा, and he's not sleeping, is because उसका mitochondrial function इतना efficient है. As you age, mitochondria starts dying. It's a normal process, and that is aging. Aging is nothing but the end of mitochondrial function. So as you grow up, by the time you've crossed your 50s, 55 even, your mitochondrial function has declined a lot. उसकी वजह से आपकी बॉडी में एनर्जी कम प्रोड्यूस हो रही है. जब एनर्जी कम प्रोड्यूस हो रही है तो अगेन एवरी सिंगल फंक्शन गेट्स अफेक्टेड. तो न्यूट्रिशन इज़ इम्पॉर्टेंट बिकॉज अगर आप एक जनरली हेल्दी डाइट खाओगे, you will support mitochondrial function. When you eat a complete meal, when you balance your meals really well, तो आपकी बॉडी की जो energy requirements है, you are able to fulfill them more effectively. The second thing is कि generally, and this is again Indians का और है ये चीज़, that you've lived a certain way your entire life and that may not be a healthy way necessarily. तो आपने जो life long में आपने जो समोसे खाए हैं, जो whatever you've done in your entire life, all of that has that little bit of like a snowballing effect. तो at some point आपकी बॉडी में कोलेस्ट्रॉल बिल्डअप है, आपके शुगर्स के जो फंक्शन है, जो इंसुलिन का फंक्शन है, वो कम हो चुका है. सो it becomes very important to manage your nutrition at that point, simply because you've done whatever you could for your body, and now you're at that age where अभी आपकी बॉडी बोल रही है अब मुझे अटेंशन चाहिए. So it's a combination of what's happening at a cellular level and what you have done, your lifestyle throughout your life. It's a combination of that, which is why nutrition becomes the mandate. The minute you cross 55, it's your mandate, and that's why हम सबको बोलते हैं कि आप annual tests करवाओ, spend a day and get all your tests done, have a doctor, have a nutritionist. It's an absolute mandate after 55.
And so basically, you're almost saying that the body is giving you a signal that you now need to do something, right? Especially if you've not had the healthiest of lifestyles and so on, and it happens, right? I mean, everybody's busy living their lives. Maybe sometimes you're not able to do it, so you end up doing that. So at this stage, then is there like a specific thing that you have to follow, intermittent fasting, or you have to do A diet versus B diet versus C diet? Like, how do you look at that? Is there a magic bullet, or how does that work exactly?
Unfortunately, there is not one thing that will work for everyone. What works for sure is if you balance every meal. तो अगर आप जो भी खा रहे हो, simple things like the minute you've crossed 40 actually, but the minute you've crossed 55 in this case, every meal should have protein. अगर आप जैसे Indian diet by default protein में deficient है, and if you're a vegetarian then all the more. So हर मील में प्रोटीन होना ज़रूरी है. दैट इज़ वन थिंग दैट हेल्प्स एवरी सिंगल पर्सन, बिकॉज हम लोग जनरली देयर वाज अ सर्वे डन अक्रॉस इंडिया, एंड it seems 83% of Indians have some form of protein related deficiency. एंड तो मतलब इतना एट अ क्रॉनिक लेवल वी बिन प्रोटीन डेफिशिएंट, तो इसलिए प्रोटीन ऐड करना इज़ वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट. मेकिंग श्योर कि वेजिटेबल्स खाओ. एन एवरेज इंडियन होम बाइज 500 grams ऑफ अ सब्जी फॉर अ फैमिली ऑफ 4. So you're eating about 100 grams of cooked vegetable in the day. The basic requirement is half a kilo of vegetables in the day for basic function. So now imagine lunch, dinner में आप खा रहे हो, getting 200 grams of vegetables. So the thing is that these kind of things, just if you just logically balance your meals more effectively, that's the one standard तरीका जो सबके लिए healthy है. Fasting is beneficial for most people, बट अगर आपको गट इश्यूज़ हैं, अगर आपके शुगर लेवल्स, इट डिपेंड्स ऑन योर हेल्थ स्टेटस. सो इन सम केसेस इट वर्क लाइक मैजिक, बट बहुत सिचुएशंस होते हैं जहाँ पे इट डजंट वर्क. ऑल्सो इंटरमिटेंट फास्टिंग इज़ अ वेरी मॉडर्न ग्लैमराइज्ड वर्जन ऑफ द होल थिंग ऑफ सनसेट से पहले खा लो, सिरकाडियन फास्टिंग. पीपल हैड देयर एंटायर मॉर्निंग का दिनचर्या ऑफ गाय को नहलाना. ये दैट टिपिकल इफ़ यू स्पीक टू समवन हु इज़ ग्रोन अप इन अ विलेज, तो वो लोग 9-10 से पहले इन द मॉर्निंग दे वुड नॉट ईट. सो दे यूज टू फॉलो द सिरकाडियन रिदम. तो दिस जस्ट ग्लैमराइजिंग लैक ऑफ इलेक्ट्रिसिटी. but I feel कि if you follow that, it's a great thing to do. And if you just use basic logic of protein healthy है, सब्जियाँ healthy है, those need to be priority. My roti and rice can be lesser. If you just start with this, it's a great, that's for most people that's enough.
Right. Okay, interesting. So the balancing of what you're already having, just adding little more balance in terms of how much protein, how much vegetables is a good step. Okay, that's interesting. Is there also an element of that इस age में आने के बाद things like inflammation are more prevalent? Is there an element of that as well?
Yeah, so inflammation can be more when you're older, but it again depends on your lifestyle so far. I've seen people who have zero inflammation, like the normal healthy levels of inflammation, but there are people who have a lot more after 50s, 60s. The factors that can affect inflammation would be things like if you've eaten a lot of sugar in your life, or if you've had a lot of stress, or if you've gone through some heavy antibiotic treatments. Or if you have undiagnosed infections. So people, who've traveled a lot for work, they end up eating outside a lot. When you've been on the road for 20 years of your life, तो आपकी बॉडी में there will be undiagnosed infections. So and वो नहीं कैच कर पाते टेस्टिंग में. So वो एक माइल्ड लेवल इन्फ्लेमेशन कॉज करेगा. और इफ़ यू हैव हाई ब्लड शुगर्स और हाई कोलेस्ट्रॉल, तो ब्लड की विस्कोसिटी चेंज हो जाती है. दैट्स अ ट्रिगर फॉर द इम्यून सिस्टम, तो वो इन्फ्लेमेशन कॉज करेगा. सो इट्स वेरी डिपेंडेंट ऑन वॉट you've डन, वॉट योर करंट हेल्थ status is. There is a very clear connection between age and inflammation, but the deciding factor is what your lifestyle has been or what your health condition has been. But the age will definitely make you more prone to getting inflammation related disorders.
Right. So, one more thing that we've been hearing about maybe in the last few years is that chronic conditions like, let's say cholesterol or diabetes, using nutrition, they can be reversed. Is that even possible? Or what's your take on this?
So it's very possible. Reversal, more like remission, is possible. उसमें बस ये होता है that it depends on what is the progress in your body. So let's take diabetes for example. Diabetes में 2 aspects है. एक है इंसुलिन सेंसिटिविटी, यानी इंसुलिन का फंक्शन एट अ सेल्यूलर लेवल, वो ग्लूकोज को प्रॉपरली मेटाबोलाइज कर पा रहा है या नहीं. दैट इज़ वन एस्पेक्ट. द सेकेंड इज इंसुलिन प्रोडक्शन फ्रॉम द पैनक्रिया. नाउ अगर आपकी इंसुलिन सेंसिटिविटी की प्रॉब्लम है, इफ़ यू बिन डायग्नोस्ड इन द फर्स्ट 5-7 years, आपको प्रॉबेबली इंसुलिन सेंसिटिविटी कम है आपकी. But over time, because the body is producing insulin, extra insulin for so many years, so the part of the pancreas that produces insulin, it stops functioning well, it gets tired. So then your insulin production reduces. Then reversal becomes difficult. So it depends on where you are. If you're like a 20 years plus diabetic, तो possible शायद ना हो. But if you're, so what I actually tell is a gold standard. If you have diabetes, cholesterol, blood pressure, the first 3 years is your golden window. You can literally reverse it in the right way. The sooner you start, the better it is in that case. Typically what happens is people will start and they'll start medication 10 साल 20 साल, they'll just keep taking it, and then when the long term complications come, then होता है कि अरे नहीं मुझे तो ठीक करना है, फिर it's too late.
Okay. So you're saying it is possible, especially so if it's caught early and you can, act on it early. And nutrition plays a big role in that reversal. What's the role of nutrition exactly?
So nutrition should be your primary line of action. Nutrition, exercise. So I follow something known as the health quartet for this. So that's food, mind, activity, nature. These are the 4 pillars of good health. These are your primary pillars. Medicine comes after this. Any other line of treatment which is allopathic in nature or even Ayurvedic, anything like that, comes second.
Which is basically like a medicinal intervention.
Correct. So any intervention of that sort will come second. But if you get your food sorted, nutrition is maybe 70% of the attention.
Oh, wow.
If you get your food sorted and then you supplement that with exercise, with mental health care, with spending some time in nature, if you do these 4 things, you're good. You can reverse it. If your body is in the place where it can reverse it, you will reverse it. If you are a child of someone who is diabetic, you will prevent it for your child will be protected from it. It's fantastic.
That's amazing. This specific thing you mentioned about the mental element of it, I'm sure that's very important, right? Because you've spent your whole life behaving in a certain fashion, maybe not always making the right nutrition choices. Now making those decisions and all of that is going to be tough. You've seen that. How do people overcome that?
So there is inertia, right? Because you've lived a certain way. And also for me to come and say कि नहीं अभी मत खाओ, it's so unfair. I mean, अगर I suddenly come and tell you, like for my dadi when they said छोले भटूरे मत खाओ, she was like, how can you say that? I've eaten it every Sunday for for my entire life. How do you say that? But habit change is actually the biggest problem when it comes to chronic conditions. And अगर आप अपनी habit, even if you can't change it completely, but if you can find a balance, like I feel कि कोई जब मेरे clients हैं वो above 55, I feel most of my work is like a negotiation act where I'm like ये कर लो, they're like नहीं अच्छा ये कर लो, like it's literally negotiation. But habit is the biggest thing, and mental health, stress, because again you're nearing that place where you're like, okay, I'm done with all my worldly duties and now I can relax, I can do what I want to do. And then at that point, agar aapko koi bole, no, now be extra careful about this other part of your life, then it's also like rightfully so, right? It's also annoying ki abhi let me just live and I want to live now. So I feel it's a combination of chronic stress, chronic bad habits. It's a combination of several things. But I've seen that people who are focusing on mental health or people who are very open to changing their habits, who are not as rigid or who are just more comfortable changing the way they live, the way their body responds is fantastic. It's a very big game changer.
No, absolutely. So the one thing about this active senior cohort that we are talking to is that they do seem to have, when we talk to people, they do seem to have aspirations. They want to do so much more with their lives. And I just feel that, if nutrition can play a enabling role for them, it can be so magical, because then everything that they perhaps maybe could not have done because they were busy earlier or whatever it is, that suddenly opens up. So that I think nutrition can really play a big role in that.
Yeah, absolutely. Like people want to run marathons and all, right? Absolutely. It's so inspiring to see that. I met an 80-year-old lady who used to be a pilot and then she had to stop. And then after 70 or something, she was like, I'm going to fly. So now at the age of 80, she's flying wherever she wants to go.
That is
it's
amazing.
Insane.
And I can see how the fitness element of it would have been such an important thing, because it's a very taxing, career to choose. Actually, that's a really good segue into something I want to talk about. Can you give us an example of, or maybe like a case study, where somebody came to you with a very specific problem or a very specific situation and what did you do, and how did you consult with them to help them come out of that situation? That'll be really good to hear.
So I'll talk about diabetes. So there was this one lady, about 67, 68. She basically was taking a very high dosage of insulin and multiple medicines. And her HbA1c was about 10, 10.5, which is very high. So the doctor was like, अभी इसके आगे हम कुछ नहीं कर सकते. You have to bring it down because I can't give you more medicines. Your body will not tolerate it. So you have to figure out a nutritional way of fixing this. So when she came to me, she was really scared that what is going to happen to my body, and lots of long-term complications were coming up. Within like a month, her insulin, the requirement of insulin was halved. And within maybe 6 months or so, we got her off insulin. So like last month we spoke to her and the doctor was like, you don't need insulin anymore. Her blood pressure pill was reduced. Her cholesterol dosage was reduced. So overall great work, right, for her. And the only thing that we did in the first 1 month is we literally just taught her how to balance her meals better. So we followed that 1, 2, 3 rule. It's like you don't even need to measure your food. You don't even need to weigh it. You just look at your plate and you do it. It's the 1, 2, 3 rule. So you do one part of the starchy components like the rice or the roti. Then you do 2 parts of the protein. So it could be the dal or the chicken, whatever you're doing. And 3 parts of the meal would be sabji, vegetables, raw, cooked, whatever you want to do. Just by doing this, within a month, she, like I told you, insulin was halved, her sugar levels were better, and she used to feel very lethargic through the day. She didn't have the energy to walk around too much. She didn't have the energy to do too much. She was feeling so energetic. She's like, I'm able to do household chores, I'm running around, I'm exercising. She hadn't felt this energy in like years. So she was really happy with this. After that, once we got the sugars under control, because that was of priority, because her body was constantly damaging the body. The damage control karna tha pehle. Once we got that in control, we started addressing the root cause, which is insulin sensitivity. So हमने insulin resistance को कम करने के लिए we started working on certain supplements with her. We worked on adding strength training for her. We added foods that help insulin function, simple lifestyle habits, simple change of meal timings, that eat this at so-and-so time of the day, add nuts at so-and-so time of the day, balance your meals by combining these food combinations. So just by simple things, and it didn't really change her pantry too much. It didn't really need to make too many changes in the kind of food she was eating. But within 6 months, insulin band ho gaya. HbA1c was under 7 the last time we checked. So it's really commendable. And she's so happy because she's like, I've never lived life like this. Like the quality of life that improved, I think that was the most, like for us, it's so, it gives you so much joy that you're able to do this. But she was very happy with just the quality of life that increased for her.
Right. That is really amazing. Like when I was hearing you speak, 2, 3 things came to mind. Okay. First of all, kudos to you for, doing this for somebody, because I can imagine their life would have just changed, and to be able to do that for hundreds and thousands of people, absolutely brilliant. The other thing that comes to mind is that, the human body is such an amazing piece of equipment that at whatever age, if you change the inputs you're giving it, and you kind of work with what signals it's sending you, you can actually change and it responds.
Yeah. So I always tell people that there is natural intelligence in the body. If you give your body the right raw material and you just leave, just tell the body, okay, here, मैंने आपको खाना दे दिया, I slept on time, I took my sunshine, I took deep breaths. If you just give the body the right raw material, it will actually help you heal, and it may not take you to completely perfect health, but it will heal. At no point in your life are you in a situation where your body will be like, I can't do anything else. Your body will always support you and will always help you get healthier, always.
That is really amazing. And the one more thing which struck me is, it's almost like a cascading effect, right? You helped her with the 1, 2, 3 method, that unlocked energy, that unlocked her ability to do walking, that unlocked her feeling better, happiness. It's just like really amazing to hear something like that.
Honestly, it's like taking the first couple of steps is where the inertia lies. Uske baad to it's, you want to do it. Your like good health is addictive. You want to keep getting healthier. You want to keep getting fitter. and you're never like, okay, abhi I'm as healthy as I want to be. You always want to keep getting better. It's so addictive.
That's really amazing. You know, actually, that's a time to ask you at let's say for active seniors, right? Again, active seniors are the people who are, we are saying, 55 to 70 years of age, roughly speaking, and you know they're in a certain stage of their life. So in this stage of their life, according to you, what does it mean to be fit? What does fitness mean at this particular point?
Fitness, see, in general, at any point of life, the human body was not designed to sit. It was designed to climb mountains, cross rivers, climb trees. We were designed to do that, right? To live like in the jungle, right? We were born to do that. So at any point in your life, that is your basic thing, that would I be able to survive in the jungle just pure movement wise, right? That could be a simple test. But from the active seniors perspective, what I think is important is you should be able to climb a couple of stairs, flights of stairs. You should be able to lift a little bit of weight without catching your back. You should be able to walk without panting. You should be able to do simple household chores. Like so many clients who come to me, I see that wo ghar ka like half an hour in the kitchen and you're tired. Or you know, like you just gone shopping, gaadi mein gaye, bought vegetables, came back home tired. So that shouldn't happen. You should be able to live your life comfortably without aches and pains. And then of course there is those slightly higher levels of fitness where like I will run a 7K marathon or a 14K marathon, or I will, you know, go for a 5 kilometer walk, or I'll cycle. Those are aspirational layers of fitness. But at the core, if you're just able to function, fitness is ability to function without aches and pains. If you can do that, then you're good.
So it's not like how you look; it's about what you're able to
What
do.
you're feeling.
Right? Or what you're feeling. That's a very good point.
You should just feel healthy. That's all.
Right. Okay. That's awesome. Now, a little bit of a fun game, like a rapid fire round. Okay. So I'm going to ask you a few things, super rapid fire. You don't get to think about it much. You got to answer what comes to your mind very, very quickly. Okay. Ready for it? Super. So, Khushboo, is sugar completely forbidden for people with diabetes?
Yes, but if your sugar levels are generally very well maintained and you're eating a very good diet, then that adha chamach sugar in a cup of chai or something, that much is okay. But if you're someone who's putting 2 chamach of sugar in the chai and you're having laddu and this and that, then sugar is forbidden.
Are all carbohydrates bad if you have insulin resistance?
No. All carbohydrates are not bad. There's a whole grains, complex carbohydrate aspect to it, which is things like your millets and buckwheat and quinoa, all these foods, which are whole grains. And they have a lot of fiber, so they will not spike sugar levels in the same way. But they still need to be part of a balanced meal.
What's your take on traditional Indian diet not being nutritionally balanced?
People who say that, I don't know why they say it. Indian diets are supremely nutrition focused. Everything, like, you know, poha pe we put peanuts. That's because it balances sugar levels. Or the fact that idli is with coconut chutney is because idli is high glycemic index, coconut chutney is not. It's low glycemic index. So it's absolutely wrong. Indian diets are very nutritionally balanced. We just have to little bit apply logic in a different way when it's diabetes or something.
Okay. High protein diets can cause kidney stones or uric acid increase or gout. What's your take on this?
So, no, not necessarily. That's again a very big myth. High protein diets, if you're like, most Indians think high protein diet is 2 कटोरी दाल in the day. Lunch में dinner में खा लिया तो uric acid बढ़ जाएगा. वो नहीं होता है. But if you're someone who's having 4-5 scoops of protein in the day, or if you're eating a lot of chicken in the day, or like any non-vegetarian protein, those can cause uric acid levels to increase. But a general balanced high protein diet, no.
Okay. Do you think all women over 50 should have a daily calcium pill?
Most should. There are very few situations where they should be careful. People who have certain cardiac issues should be careful. But otherwise, women after 50 should have it. Most of them are, you know, very, very prone to fractures, to bone issues. They should.
Okay. Does apple cider vinegar lower blood glucose levels?
Yeah, it's amazing. So basically, if you take 1 spoon in a glass of water and you have it before a meal, 10-15 minutes before a meal, it will slow down the breakdown of starch to glucose and it'll be released in the blood slower. So, yeah, it will lower it.
Okay. Are daily morning walks enough to stay healthy after the age of 55?
Not at all. I mean, daily morning walks are great for mental health, but for actual management of diabetes or any other chronic lifestyle condition, 3 days a week strength training, non negotiable.
And do you mean strength training like going to the gym, or it's okay to do stuff at home
No, you have to
also?
lift weights.
You lift weights.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, that's awesome. Now, I want to come to this segment which we are calling Pantry Peak. And what I want to do is, uh, can you tell us what are 5 things that every active senior should have in their pantry?
Ragi, number one. It's one of the best sources of calcium and it's very, very nutrient dense. Sesame seeds. Sesame seeds, Indians, it's one of the oldest crops to be domesticated. So we've been making sesame oil for donkey's years and very rich in calcium, very good for fiber, very good for bones, very good for mental health. Sesame seeds should be an absolute must. Sattu, chana sattu, very easy to digest, very bioavailable in terms of protein, and it's really tasty. And it, wherever you use besan, you can switch it with sattu. Very good thing to do. Third thing, ghee. I mean, any list is incomplete without ghee, right? So ghee to hona hi chahiye in every single Indian home. And finally, ginger. Ginger is very anti-inflammatory. Plus, because there is more pollution now, it behaves like an antihistamine. So, जिन लोगों को allergy symptoms हो रहे हैं, which happens a lot more for active seniors, it really helps. It also reduces aches and pains in the body. So, a cup of ginger tea in the day could be a great asset for most.
And do you think when you speak to people, do they broadly have some of these things in their pantry?
Most of them are there, but things like chana sattu may not be there, or people may not know how to use it in a good way. Or ragi, people don't know how to use it in a nice way, maybe. But they are very simple ingredients. They are normal. Your kirana ki dukaan will have it, so it's not difficult.
Yeah, it doesn't sound like something which you have to import
Or shell out a lot of money
Yeah, shell out a
for
lot of
nothing.
money.
It's
Yeah,
simple. Your phone pe aa jayega.
That is really good. So, Khushboo, we've spent a lot of time discussing, and I think we've covered a lot of great points. If you wanted to, in some way, summarize, for an active senior, what role can nutrition play in bettering their lives? How would you summarize it?
So, when it comes to active seniors, like I said at the beginning, focus on nutrition is mandatory. You have to make that your priority. I feel instead of typically what I see is that ये diet, वो diet, इसने कहा ये खा लो, इसने कहा सुबह उठ के ये ले लो. Instead of doing all of this, if you just use all of that energy and focus on just balancing your meals, ensuring that the 5 pantry foods that I've said are a daily feature in your diet, if you just do simple changes, that can actually go a long way. And then make nutrition your primary intervention. And then उसके बाद आप medicine करो, आपको जो करना है, even exercise for that matter, make nutrition as important as taking deep breaths. If you make it that important, then you will not need to take medicines, you will not need to go to too many doctors or go to the hospital too often because you've done this. And this is, I always say this to people who are active seniors, this is golden period of your life, right? You're physically fit, you have time, you have money, you have everything, you have all the resources that you could require to live all your dreams. But in order to do that, you just need your basics to be done right, and that is nutrition. So if you do a good job with the food that you're eating and you follow a generally healthy-ish lifestyle, then you can literally do the marathon, you can do the travel wherever you want to, you can do all of that.
That's really amazing. I think it's a very empowering message that you're giving. And the fact that this message comes from experience and having helped so many active seniors do exactly that, I think everybody listening and watching can, feel a beacon of hope or a sense of hope. So thank you so much. Khushboo, thanks for joining us. I think it was really lovely to have you. Of course, we'll do a lot more stuff. I'm very happy that we at Meru Life are collaborating with you. Thank you. Thanks a ton.
Thank you so much. It was great being here. Thank you.
And for everybody who's kind of watching us, a few quick calls to action. Please find Khushboo on the Health Pantry across Instagram, Facebook, and all socials. Make sure you subscribe to her. Make sure you subscribe to the Meru Life podcast. Go to our socials, join us there as well. If you are someone who is not an active senior, but you've come across this, I'm sure you have active seniors in your life, your parents or uncles, aunts, friends, etc. Make sure you share this with them. Join Meru Life on this mission to help every single active senior in the country have an active, connected, and purposeful second inning. Thank you.